What's going on, everybody? This is Toy Addict 26 back again with another meeting of Toy Addicts Anonymous. This is meeting number 4, and today I'm very excited to introduce old-time friend of mine and fellow artist. This guy is super talented. If you haven't seen his stuff yet, it's all over. He works with Skybound, and he's also doing his own products, and he's even lately had some creations in three-dimensional form made from his artwork. None other than Mr. Attack Peter Santa Maria. What's going on, buddy?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man. No, thank you for, taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I just saw your announcement that you got your second comic cover on Invincible of Battle Beast. That's awesome, man.
Crazy? Look at that shit, dude.
Dude.
Okay, shit? Sorry.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm try not to, though, but yeah. Yeah, I'm so stoked on this. This is the craziest thing for me. We do so many crazy things, at Skybound, but this is like the kind of rare opportunity that I can get afforded by them. And then the cover art, look, trust me, I'm stoked to have the cover art, but for me, the biggest thing is this. I'll show it to you right now. That. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Artist cred.
Artist cred.
Look at the names on there, dude. That's so crazy, dude. I always snuck into this world because it was the world I wanted to be in my whole life. Comics and toys. I just wanted to be in that world somehow. And I never knew how. And even when I started doing this artwork, I'm like, well, I love doing this artwork, but I guarantee it's not going to fit in that world. So I'll just kind of hang out and observe from a distance. But the fact that I get to do it now, it blows me away every day. Yeah,
man. Major kudos. You're living the dream, basically. I've always been, an artist, and I've always wanted to do my stuff and be involved some way in the toy industry. When I was younger, what I always thrived for was to be in post-production because I was a huge fan of Star Wars and always still have been, but like I wanted to create the creatures and create the costumes and the environments. And, I went to school, things happened, I had to drop out. I went to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale and I totaled my car and it's the rest is history. Now I'm a dad. I just got a 13-month-old at home, and time is limited. But I think that now more than ever, it's do or die. It's kind of like let's make things happen. That's why I'm back on my channel. Yeah. People like you were like just telling me, "Hey, man, get back on your shit." Yeah. Don't review toys, but I get on there and do something with your content. You created the IP.
Yeah.
And, you're not just going to let it die and wither, so.
No, you just got to, that's the thing. It's like, I sympathize because I had the same feeling. Even today, like, even at this point, with everything going well, there are days where I'm like, I really just wanted to do exactly what you said. Like, I wanted to work on creature design, and I wanted to work anonymously in a warehouse, in a studio workshop for Lucasfilm, ILM. That was it. That's all I wanted to do.
Hell yeah.
I don't care if anybody ever knew my name. I just wanted to do that. And then, because of, like you said, circumstances and things, like what I realized is that I would be better off trying to harness whatever energy was happening versus trying to like stifle the momentum and try to create a different momentum. And funny enough, like it's opened up so many doors that I didn't expect to have opened that I just kind of like take the attitude of let me just make sure I work my ass off every day, and then let me just sit back and see what happens instead of having to dictate the exact flow of events.
And that's a good mindset to have, like I see myself, one thing that I'm preaching nowadays to myself is that if you don't do the work, you're not going to reap the results. And I'm just find myself just, if I'm not recording a stream, I'm working on artwork, and then I'm doing my 9 to 5. So I just have like 3 or 4 jobs going on at the same time. Okay. And eventually something's going to give. And, and the fun thing about doing work is doing work that you enjoy when it's something that you love.
Yeah, 100%. And getting to the point where you realize that, and this was also hard for me. Like, like we were talking about before, and I was a teacher for 13 years, and I would teach art. And although I spent a couple of years just teaching straight up like elementary school classroom, which was really rough for me. It's not what I was out for. But the point is, when I look back now, and I'm happy to say that the last few years, I really did feel like, okay, I don't know where this is going, but I am enjoying the process. If it never goes anywhere besides where it was, and back then it was just going to conventions, trying to sell some artwork. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I ate total crap and nobody bought anything, and sometimes I would sell out. But the idea was, I am enjoying this. If this is all it ever is, I'm enjoying it, and for, like, letting that mindset take over. I just realized that plus hard work, everything started to happen.
Yeah.
That was it.
If it's meant to happen,
Yeah.
it's going to happen,
Oh, it happened.
You got to put that work in.
Yeah.
But
let's talk toys.
Let's talk toys, man. So I know for a fact that, you're probably not to the degree that I am in terms of buying so much stuff. You're getting there now, though. I've been seeing your latest acquisitions.
Dude,
so
my big problem right now, and I'm sure you have some kind of structure, so reel me in if you have to, but my obsession right now is Kaiju X Plus stuff. So I love X Plus. They make like the most detailed, suit accurate, like they even have the zippers in the back of the figures, right?
That's badass. Yeah.
Of like really obscure monsters from Ultraman, Godzilla, Gamera. But dude, lately I have a sickness and I have like a fever, like a hot fever for hot toys, dude. And this is dark magic, dude, because I look at these and I get so much satisfaction out of them that I even find myself contemplating buying figures of characters that I don't really care that much about, just because and this is going back to what we were talking about, I like to look at them as miniature maquettes that would be available in the behind the scenes of a show or a film. Like, this is what the suit's going to look like. This is what the creatures are going to look like. When I would go to Comic-Con in the sideshow booth and see all the maquettes and all that, I'm like, oh my God. So I think I'm at, let me see, 1, 2, 5. I think I'm at 12 Hot Toys right now.
Wow.
And I just got the Scout on the speeder bike. The Scout Troop on the speeder bike.
Oh, sweet.
Star Wars Hot Toys for me is and then this thing.
Yes.
This to me, I'm going to tell you something right now. First of all, I liked this Hellboy movie. I recognize it wasn't like the highest form of art, but I think David Harbour deserves a Hellboy series, like on HBO Max. Like, I'm saying he's that good. He was awesome. Yeah. But just put all that aside. This, to me, is one of the greatest made toys I've ever held in my hands from any aspect. I wasn't even going to get this figure, and I'm a huge Hellboy fan. You know that.
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to get this because I'm like, where am I going to put it? Like, it's not with my Marvels, not with my Star Wars. I have some Hellboy stuff, but I've cut back a lot of it. And then I saw a couple reviews on this thing, and there is no real way to, like, you guys, if you haven't seen it, look at the reviews on this thing. The ratcheted joint, the suit, the skin feels like a rubbery skin texture. There's no joints anywhere when you, like, ratchet the joints. I don't know if you can hear it, like clicking, like ratcheted joints in place.
Yeah, he has like a metal endoskeleton.
It's heavy, dude. It's so heavy. This thing weighs so much, and there's no visible joint anywhere. Like, even on the wrist, they have like a little bracelet so that you can cover the little joint there. Dude,
yeah,
it's outstanding. The only problem with this figure, and by the way, look at the floating crown. You see that?
Yeah.
They're connected to his top knot in the back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But the only problem with this figure is it comes with so many accessories. If you were a diehard Hellboy fan, you need like 2 or 3 of them to display it 3 ways. So good, dude.
Well, the budget way to go about that is you just rotate your displays every couple months.
Of course. That's 100% what I'm going to do, for sure.
So I wanted to ask you, obviously I know that you're a collector, and when did you begin collecting, and what got you started? Was it like from childhood or like later on in adulthood?
I don't remember life without toys. So, like, if I go back, I try to think, like, what was the first toy obsession I had? It's probably, I know when I was a little kid, my grandpa used to give me some Mickey Mouse stuff. But then I remember, like, the youngest, I remember being like 5 or 4. and having He-Man figures. Like He-Man figures for me was everything. All the Masters of the Universe figures I had, and my grandfather, who rest in peace. Funny enough, like I was just at my mom's house the other day, and we were looking at because he had this collection of like little crystal figures, like little animals and things that were just I don't even know, like Swarovski or something like that. But he had like 100 of them. He wasn't a guy who had like one. He was a collector. He had a coin collection. He was a collector, and so as a kid at that age, I would have been stoked with like Skeletor, He-Man, let's go. Merman, of course, the greatest of all time. But the point is that he was the kind of guy who's like, in Spanish, is like, "Tú tienes este, tú tienes trap jaw," which is, for people. Do you have trap jaw? Do you have Triclops? You're gonna need those. And so he would live in Virginia. We would live in Miami. And so we would get like a package every so often when he found it, because he would go to the stores looking for them, like the way we do. Yeah, it's so funny.
So you had him toy hunting for you. But
I didn't ask for it. Like he would just do it. And then I got into it. Like I'm like, oh, because like now I got the bug for like, which is what we all suffer from, the anticipation, the hunt. It's always better than the figure, the waiting. But even though the figures are great, the hunt is the best. So yeah, from day one, I remember that. I remember Ghostbusters figures were huge for me. Huge, huge, huge. And Ninja Turtles. And then, of course, the Marvel figures. But I remember the Marvel figures coming a little bit later, because there was like, I feel like there was a time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a time where they weren't everywhere. And then all of a sudden, like all those grayback figures that were like, that are now being used, like I think you posted a Hercules today that had the same gray back that they used to have back then.
Yeah, that was the Toy Biz. I want to say it was like mid '90s,
right? So
Toy Biz was doing the.
So I'm sure there were Marvel and DC stuff before that, but like I don't remember it being everywhere. And I remember when I was like in the mid '80s, like. I remember going to this department store called Best that used to exist.
Yeah, I remember Best.
And I remember walking in with my grandpa or my dad, and I saw for the first time Ninja Turtles on the toy racks before the cartoon. And I just remember seeing Splinter and Michelangelo and a bunch of others. And I think my brother and I would pick Splinter and Michelangelo. And I remember viscerally in my head, dude. Going home and sitting in my bedroom, I can see it. I remember my bed pushed up against the wall, like a white room, and my like this wooden furniture. I remember holding, dude. I swear to you, I remember holding the Michelangelo in my hand, and just being so fascinated and engulfed in the textures of the shell, the squishy head,
that's awesome.
The colors of it. And I always, like, my brother loved toys too, but he's not like me. Like, he'll have a few, like right now as an adult, he'll have a few things, and he has some that he stored for like when his daughter grows up to see if she's into it. But like I hold these things in my hand, and like they make me want to make stuff. That's the best. I was talking to James Groman about it on a show recently, where they're like these little totems of electric inspiration. Like if I see them. And every day I walk into my studio and I see them here, I'm like, oh my God, now I want to make something cool. It's crazy how, and I used to think that would be the same for everybody, but I remember all my friends outgrowing it and getting over it and all that. And a handful of us, and that's how I met you in 2002 when the He-Man line relaunched, the Four Horsemen, which I say to this day, I don't give a shit what anybody says. That's the greatest He-Man toy line we ever had and ever will have. To me,
absolutely agree. Yeah,
because and I got to see some of the maquettes at Comic-Con. I only wish they made the 18-inch ones.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what would it take to get those, man? I don't know. and I remember that figure line. That's when I met you, because you were we had to hunt back then, right?
Absolutely.
I think it was Mechaneck that was impossible to get.
Super hard, yeah.
I remember meeting you, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think I remember like meeting you at Anime Hurricane at one of our local comic stores, RIP, and in the parking lot by FIU, for International University, and I think we were like talking about it. And did you have a custom at that time? Were you doing like a custom figure or something?
I did some custom stuff, yeah. I did a
remember
custom
talking.
Ice He-Man. I did some custom stuff with the 2000X.
And you had figures in your trunk, like you were like, hey, I think I saw them there, and you give me. It was just so fun because this is before social media, before Total Toy Recon, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it was just, but yeah, my whole life, dude, my whole life, I love, and then the Dave Cortez Hellboy line from Mezco sent me reeling, dude. Again, I think outside of Hot Toys, but in a way, right up there because they are the greatest translation of a really difficult art style. And when they came out, you remember, nobody gave a shit.
Yep.
Just the Hellboy fans.
People wanted the movie ones. They're like, why are you making comic ones?
Yeah. And no, dude, they were on racks forever. I was working at a GameStop. They sat on the racks forever. I ended up buying them because I'm like, I already had them. I'm not going to let them sit here out of disrespect. I remember they were at Virgin Megastore forever. The Kriegaf, no, it was all Kriegafs. Nobody wanted Kriegaf.
That's crazy, man.
And I remember I bought them. I don't know. I was like obsessed. Like I couldn't leave Hellboy on the rack, and so I remember giving them to my friends, like as gifts. and I cared about the toys that much. Like now I'm thinking about it, talking to you, like that it felt bad to leave it on the rack if I loved it that much. And
to this day, I have that struggle where, and that's where that toy addiction comes into play, where I find myself having to cherry pick and filter down. Funny that you mentioned Mezco. You can see behind me I have a bunch of Mezco stuff. The 112 Mezco stuff that's coming out nowadays is just absolutely insane. And I'm holding hope that Mez is going to decide to do a Mignola-inspired Hellboy line somewhere down the line. Imagine the type of quality of the Cortez sculpts, but with fabric clothing and
that's what I want.
Tons of interchangeable parts. Dude.
Don't even resculpt them. Bring the sculpts back. Put fabric, because there was one that had it. Do you remember?
Yeah, he had the fabric trench coat. I think it was like probably a Comic-Con exclusive.
I don't know. Dude, I had it, and I still have, because it was the one with the king with the Japanese heads.
Oh, yeah.
I still have the heads. I don't know what happened to the trench coat figure, man. I was so pissed off I can't find it when I moved.
That's one of the most sought-after Hellboy comic figures, the one with the heads.
Yeah. I tried to sell one to you for like $50 years ago.
I remember. It's crazy. And you know, speaking of everything, you designed one of my logos that comes out in front of my videos. The one where it's like I told you, dude, I want like this crazy caricature of me with a shopping cart, like just showing you know that I'm addicted to toys. And to this day, I use that, and it's awesome, and it's incredible how things go around full circle. I think one of the most interesting things about the hobby is the friendships and connections that you make through the hobby. Totally. You know, you never know what paths people lead in life, and you meet someone 10, 20 years ago, and later on in life, you know, you converge back and you work on something together, and it's just, I think that's one of the most rewarding things about the hobby is that you meet such awesome people out there. Not only people I met in the industry, but collector friends, and you know, helping each other out. Oh, I'm looking for this shit. I've been to 10 stores, I can't find it. Hey, you know what? I just happen to have an extra one.
Yeah, it's cool.
Here you go.
It's cool because you were just on that struggle for a minute, and then you were able to hook someone else up. I did the same thing. Like, I stopped doing that because I realized I was probably screwing more people than I was helping. But whenever I would find a rare figure, even if I already had it, I would buy it. And I would hold it for that, to hear like who needed it. And I was like, I got it. And I wasn't like gonna scalp them, like just give me what I paid for it. But it was because I don't, now I look back like, why did I do that? But I was like, it was during that He-Man line, but it was the same reason. I'm like, oh my God, I found not one Mechanic, but two. There's someone of my friends needs this. I'm going to grab it. But back then it was funny because, again, like you said, it wasn't like now, like that's what like Total Toy Recon, for example, does. There wasn't anything like that. So it was just a way. And in my mind, I'm like, let me buy it at regular price so that they don't have to find it for $40 at some convention or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, dude. And what you're saying is something that I really miss this year specifically is that going to comic shops, which in Miami, it's tough. Like, we got Tate's and yeah, Max is there, but I haven't been in a million years. And I just miss bumping into my friends at the comic shop, seeing what everybody's up to, seeing what's going. I love that, dude, and that doesn't really exist anymore. And so,
Yeah.
that's why I was telling you originally, like, do this show, because imagine because to me these shows are like the equivalent of that, like the virtual 2021 version of that experience, and in fact, it'd be fun to do it like with a panel of people one day, but yeah, and so but imagine saying, I'm not going to go to the comic book shop on Wednesday and talk with my friends because someone else already does that. Why shouldn't I have that experience? I feel the same way about my artwork. I'm like, well, there's so many good artists out there. There's nothing left to innovate on. That's the kind of crap in my brain sometimes. Like, yeah, that's a real reflex my brain will have. Like, there was times where I'm like, well, what are you doing? What are you going to invent something new? You're going to do a better Batman than Frank Miller, bitch. But then you get, it's a stupid mindset. It's like a false, narrative. It's not that you have to outdo Frank Miller to do a cool Batman. It's just that you have to have fun doing it. And then that activity, like this right here, what we're doing, like toy hunting used to be, it's an activity that you're passionate about that gives you a ticket into community. That's what it's about. That's why everybody needs to do something.
I agree, and I think this has been very exciting, reaching out to people from the toy industry, fellow collectors, and like you said, I miss that. I used to go to Comic-Con every other year. I would be covering Comic-Con for figures.com, so I was really lucky during that time to have those experiences. I went to Comic-Con like 5 or 6 years in a row, just as a liaison, just writing reports, interviewing people in the industry, and that's how I got to meet Cornboy and Randy Falk from NECA and all these other awesome people in the toy industry, and now it's like coming full circle where, like, what, I want to talk shop with all these folks and not only talk about what's coming from your company, but what influenced you to do what you're doing with your company today. Like, talk to us about your childhood and what toys led you to your careers and things like that. And it's so many interesting stories to be told and heard that, I think this is a great avenue and definitely something that I have a lot of, awesome plans for in the future.
Yeah. And what else? I was talking to my mom yesterday, and we were talking about toys and toy stores, and they don't really exist anymore in the way that we used to have them. And she's like, I wish I could just open a toy store. I'm like, I don't know if you'd do well, because it doesn't exist in that sphere anymore. In fact, I don't even like. Then I was thinking, like, after toddler age, do kids like really care like about action figures?
You know what? Sadly, I don't think so, man.
I don't think so either. I think now
it's all adults.
Yeah, because I think, like, I remember teaching little kids, and they cared about toys until they got to see an iPad, and then it was like, and they're not going to have that nostalgic connection. So I don't know if they'll be able to loop back around like we are. So part of me, is bummed out about that. But there's another thing that I think about that goes, oh, that means while we're alive, we can make some crazy kick-ass shit that people in our age that have jobs and have earned an income and want to have disposable income in the toy world, you can do like what Four Horsemen is doing right now, which is super niche stuff directed at a specific audience, and crazy. I mean, look at Prime One Studio, dude. Yeah. I am definitely not in that market, sadly, because, but
neither.
But I love that it exists.
Yeah,
and I love that they are able to do what they're doing with those two, that King Kong bus and that Godzilla bus. So insane.
Man.
And I'm just thinking, like, there was a time where that couldn't existed when we were kids playing with toys. It wouldn't have existed because, you know what else? I don't think my dad's generation cared about toys the same way either.
No.
Right? And that's why it was some of them are so expensive and rare, because Nobody kept them. This idea of preserving. Oh, sorry, my camera does that. Hold on a second.
No worries.
I'm back. And so, yeah, this idea of like preserving and care, that doesn't exist. So, I think we're like this weird moment in time that this is really important for. And then who knows? Maybe by the time the next generation gets into it, there'll be like digital sculpts, and they can just like like NFT toys or some shit. Who knows?
It's funny you mentioned that because I recently spoke to Brian Flynn from Super 7 about all that. And I was telling him, why do you think it is that, it doesn't look like children are really gravitating towards toys anymore? And he has, a different opinion about it. And man, if there's a great guy to learn shit about the toy industry from, it's Brian. Because he breaks shit down in a way that's so digestible to the common person that's not exposed to that world, in terms of numbers and production and challenges. Like he was explaining in my latest interview with him about Silverhawks, and he was talking about how it's almost like prime real estate.
Yeah.
To have a space in a toy aisle.
Oh yeah.
Pegs represent like millions of dollars when you're talking about Walmart, Target. Yeah. So, it's just like the ironic thing for me is if toys is so adult driven nowadays, why is the industry still so child driven in the terms of what they're going to sell at retail? Because it's one of those things where if there's not any active IP, they don't think the stuff is worthy of having a shelf space. So if you're not Star Wars or you're not, Masters of the Universe with active cartoon product on Netflix, then you have to, resort to a Matty Collector and have direct-to-consumer figures and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see how maybe things will evolve in the future.
I think that's it. And the fact is that we're like, you and I are paying close attention to this more than 99.9% of people. And we're not, and so, and people like in Brian's, shoes, like the literal Willy Wonkas of the toy world. Right. And so outside of that, I don't think people are paying attention to that. They're just there's no Toys R Us anymore. That should be a canary in the coal mine. And so you go to a Target where you're doing your other shit, you're buying your other stuff. You're at Walmart buying other stuff. And then you're like, oh, I have this kid's birthday coming up. Let me see what go to the toy aisle, whatever. And then, oh, they like Star Wars. Bing. Or, oh, they like Batman. Bing. And again, I need to be able to buy something for $20 or less if it's a gift for a little kid. And maybe the kid doesn't care about the toy that much. They'd rather have the iPad app, whatever it is, but toys still serve a function in that little transaction of so yeah, you're not going to get the high-end stuff. Hot toys are never going to be at Target, and what I'm saying, Mezco stuff is going to be maybe, and so, but people like us who, even though it looks like a toy and it's similar, it's a different thing. It's a different thing. We know exactly what we want. The amount of people buying it, probably less, probably more specific, and because of that, they can, direct market. You also probably have less time to go toy hunting anymore. You know what I mean? I see some of these people who go hunting at every Target, and it looks fun to me, I have to admit. But I go, how do you have the time to do that shit? If you have the money to afford it, how do you have the time to do it? Because sometimes it's like one or the other, And so, it is what it is. But I'm just excited that if it does become a niche, high-end collectible for people in our age demographic, that we still have plenty of time to enjoy it and to innovate and to see what's going on. And yeah, maybe it'll be that, when the pendulum swims back around and, kids get tired of digital and want analog and, things move like that, that we'll have innovated the space enough, the technology will have moved forward enough that like a hot toy can cost $50.
Hey, wishful thinking, man.
I mean, that's what happened. There was a time when, and then what cost $200, like the price point of a $300 hot toy now, that thing will have to walk around on my desk. You know what I mean? And so, so like this is going to be the iPhone 3G of Hot Toys in 10, 15 years, I hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Iron Man will fly and he'll hover and
You know, at least project AR shit onto you, or you know, like we're there already. Like if they wanted to, like if it became a kid's toy and it had to be interactive with an app or something like that, you know, we're close. We're close.
yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you, now that we're talking about all these different, toy lines and you mentioned Hot Toys. So have you realized at any point yet that, collecting has become a problem in terms of like you find yourself like, shit, I'm buying way too much stuff?
It happens in like, I mean, look, I'm in a rare situation where the toys serve my job in two ways. Number one, I do a YouTube show and it looks cool for me to have different toys behind me when I go live. Although that's not like the main part of my income, it does create some hype. But and number two, I use them as references a lot of times. Like sometimes I'm working and I need a pose, or like I need to see how light hits. Like if I wanted to work on a Mando piece and I needed to see how light would hit this from a certain angle, and that's important for my design, there's no better way than this, and to see how it would hit this than here. So where artists, sometimes you see those like little generic wooden mannequins that artists buy. Well, like if I'm doing something specific, that helps. Now, it's not that every time I do a job, I got to find the toy. It's not always an option, but it is, in that regard, useful there too. But where it becomes an issue is, like there's more stuff that I want than I have space, or that I want to put money into it. Because no matter how much money you have or don't have, there's a line. Everybody's line is different, but there is a line. And wherever that line is, that's the new normal. So if you can only fit 4 Hot Toys or 2 Hot Toys or 1 Hot Toy, and that's your max, right? And then you have it there, and you really like, fuck, I could just move some shit and get one more. And then so you're debating going from 1 to 2. Yeah. Like I said, I got like 12 now, and I have only two of those IKEA Detolfs.
Oh man.
I know for sure I'm going to need one more.
Absolutely. Sure. I used to have 10 IKEA Detolfs.
I literally don't have space for more than 4. So 4 will be my max. But I'm right now, I'm full. One of them is full, and one of them is like just barely has anything in it. But one's Marvel, one's Star Wars, So, but I know the Star Wars one's already out, spilling out. So that's it though, right? Space wise. And then the other thing is like, do I want to get everything that I can get right now, or will I regret the money and space being occupied by something when, for example, Book of Boba's about to come out? And I got that Boba Fett 2-pack on pre-order, like that one that has the Tomorrow skull. Yeah. Oh my god.
That's amazing.
And it's funny that I was never the biggest Boba Fett fan until this Mando, because he was cool design. Like I thought it was a great design, but I didn't have any attachment, and I got to have some attachment to the character to want to care that much. But I love this old grizzled, like, where's my goddamn armor? And then he's also a good guy. He's going to help out, but he's like just wrecking shit, rockets out the knee, and now I'm like, oh my god, I fucking love you so much right now. And so now I'm like, I gotta get that 2-pack, and then I found the quarter scale one, but I'm like, okay, tranquilo, take it easy, because we're about to get my dream come true. Now is like, I was always a fan of the Cantina, the bounty hunters, those sea-level characters in the background of Star Wars. And if there's ever been an opportunity to get the figures for those characters, going to be in this show coming up. If
Absolutely.
We get Bosk, if we get, oh my god, dude, the possibilities are endless. Like a Bib Fortuna. Will we get the fat Bib Fortuna? Do we already lose our chance? Anyway, the thing is, like, there's so many opportunities, and so that's why it becomes a problem, because you want it all. I want my house to look like a museum.
That's the thing.
By the way, not my house, studio, because my wife, by the way, super cool, loves all this shit. She is not like, keep it in your thing. Not at all. I got to give props. Gabby is amazing. She loves this stuff. She's just as hyped as I am. In fact, like I was on the fence about the Scout Trooper, and she's like, Scout Trooper has the best helmet in Star Wars. How are you not going to get that one? I'm like, so she's into it, right? But I'm not trying to like take over the house. I'm trying to keep it so that like there's like a little vibe in here. So that kind of forces me to edit down too. And sometimes I'll sell stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I never thought I would have sold some of those old Mezco Hellboy toys. They were perfect to me. But I did. I recently sold almost all of them except for two because I wasn't like I felt like I was like all the joy I had gotten out of them. I got it. I kept a couple. And then I saw some people out there who were like, oh, I wish I could have had them. Oh, I never knew. I'm like, okay, I'll just sell it to these guys. I make some money, and then I get the hot toys with that. You know, so like it's like that.
Yeah, I know. It's an upgrade.
Yeah.
You know, aside from this 6-inch stuff that I still collect, at one point I used to have about 40 hot toys.
No
And
shit.
right now, at this moment, I have less hot toys than you.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just and you know, a lot of different
It's fun.
points in my life that have led me to having to just sell things, and
100%.
when it's a means to an end or a means to achieve something else, it's definitely something that at least I know. Yeah, I have a problem. I have a toy addiction, but I know that there's a time when this has to go. It gets sold. I'm not like a hoarder.
Exactly.
I'm not like locked in where like I'm absolutely not selling this. So it's one of those things that I think is very important. When you collect toys, yeah, you get a certain thing out of it. You get happiness, you get a joy, but at the end of the day, there's bills, there's responsibilities, there's all sorts of things. So
yeah, and if to be honest with you, it felt cool to be able to get some good money for those opened, no packaging Hellboy toys. I'm like, pretty cool, man. Like that felt good. Like that interest fueled something else later. And just like if it was a museum, you don't go to a museum for the same shit every time you go, or a gallery. You see new, different. That's, I think we may love the collecting more than the actual toys.
it's possible. I mean, because it does give you. I mean, every time you find something or you score something, there's this feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
For me, one thing that I've always gravitated towards the toy collecting is that as an artist, I visually see scenes and dioramas in my head. And back when I used to do my toy reviews, I used to go all out doing all this intense toy photography, which back then there wasn't a lot of people doing it. Now there's people earning a living off of that.
Yeah.
Of course it's top notch. It's super high caliber level stuff, just to throw out some names, Sergeant Bananas.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's working for Super 7 now. He's an inside photographer for their product, but he has a lot of talent, and it's just it's one of those things where we all see toys in a different way. It all does, it affects people in different ways in their lives. For me, like I said, it's like I buy a toy and I'm like already thinking like, oh, I'm going to pose this guy with this guy. Or I'm going to have this guy fighting this guy. Or I'm going to do a meme with this figure, that has nothing to do with what it actually is. Like, for example, this guy here, I bought him. I don't know shit about this character. It's, his name is the...
From where? From what line?
He's from Marvel Legends. It's
okay. Man,
it's this dude with a cloak. I don't even remember his name right now, but he came out in the latest wave of villains.
Uh-huh.
But what I bought him for is that awesome head sculpt, that expression.
That's great.
Like when I look at him, the first thing I saw was brain freeze.
Yeah.
So I got this Peter Parker hand swap. I put it on there, and I put the drink. And it's like he's having a brain freeze.
I was gonna say like that makes sense. I'm like, who is this guy? It's hilarious, but like you made it. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's I look at these things with a different set of eyes that other people would probably just be like, oh, that's that guy from Marvel Legends, and I gotta have him.
No, I love that diorama set too. Like that's one thing I wish I had more space for. is like that kind of like set building. I love it.
Absolutely.
Dude, to me it's so underappreciated. But there's this there's two things. There's they for these like Godzilla and kaiju figures from X Plus. They make these. There's a bunch of people make these little buildings.
Yeah.
Buy them, and like to me they make the figures look so awesome, dude. But I don't have any of them because I just don't really have like a set place to leave them, And I'm always moving and shuffling things around. And then for the Hot Toys, oh my god, tell me you've heard of Jazz Inc.
No.
Oh, dude, pull that up on your own just so you can see it. Jazz Inc. is like I want to say J-A, I think it's Jazzzinc. This guy, yeah, Jazz Inc. dioramas. Dude, this guy was doing, he is doing like unlicensed pieces that like fit your detail shelf, but the detail was incredible, right? And they slide right in, like a lot of Star Wars stuff. Like now he's doing vehicles, like they're all 6-scaled. Like he's doing the land speeder, he did the Millennium Falcon cockpit, and it's crazy. They're all like handmade or made little by little, and you take pre-orders, and he shows you the whole process. And they're not cheap, but from what I've heard from people who own them, they're actually underpriced for what they are.
Wow.
And I just love this kind of stuff because I just want to see the figure in the environment too. Like I love that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's when you mentioned dioramas, I look at stuff being created, and as a creator myself, I'm like, if I have the time, I'm pretty sure I could pull this shit off my own. And, the last thing I was thinking about, I'm a huge Thundercats fan. I'm like, I'm fucking dying to get these new figures that have been like in production hell from Super 7. And what I want to do is,
Are they finally coming out, or they're still stuck because of
Wave 3 should be on a boat in a week or so. Brian just posted a picture of Wave 3 Slithe and Captain Cracker side by side, showing the huge difference in the size as far as the depth and the width of the Slithe box. To show how much bigger of a figure he is.
Oh,
dude, those will be on a boat.
Yes, I saw that. I love that.
Those will be on a boat, hopefully sometime this week. So I think they'll be in my hands, hopefully at some point in August or early September. Yeah. And then Wave 2, which should have come before, should be in our hands sometime in like October, November.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's where we're going to have the Mumra the Ever Living, which is like so mammoth. He's like almost 10 inches tall.
I love that. I love the in-scale stuff like that.
Yeah, no. And that's one of the things that, I was talking to Brian. It's just incredible how, if you look back 5 years ago when Mattel was going to do Thundercats, which they did, but then they canceled it, they were going to make us wait 5 years to build the entire core team.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to get Tigra till year 5 through a subscription service. And their Mumra, I'm sure, would not have been as big as the one Super 7 made. So I'm glad that things panned out the way they did, because now as a collector, I'm going to get what I wanted, Right. But I wanted to ask, like, in terms of, purchases that you've made recently, would you coin any of them like a shame piece where it's like something that you paid like an astronomical amount, or like you would never have years before, you would never have pictured yourself paying so much money for a collectible?
Dude, when you first mentioned that, I thought I tried to find something because in the past I would have done that. And I can't even think of something specific because, and I'll tell you why, and I'm not even trying to I'm looking around just to make sure I don't have any examples of it, but I've always been lucky in that the stuff that I like has not been everybody else's taste. Like, for example, like the character I like in He-Man is Merman. Is that everybody's favorite? Probably some people, but not everybody, right? Like, my favorite Ultraman villain, nobody gives a shit about. This guy, Gango. He looks like an idiot, and my favorite guy. So it's like, I'm lucky in that the stuff that I dig is not usually what's out, like everybody's out for, and therefore I don't have to compete as hard. I also don't, I can't even think of something that I would like if I saw.
Have you ever paid like an astronomical amount for like a Godzilla piece, maybe?
No. Well, they're not cheap. Like, for example, this guy right here, It's like this exclusive Godzilla Heisei with like the Rodan glitter on it. Like, dude, I don't know if you can tell because like the focus is not on it, but like let me see if I can do this. So you can see this thing is crazy. There you go. Look at that. That was
yeah.
dude. And this thing is nuts. The detail, even up close, is even better than you can tell here. So this is this company X Plus. They're not cheap, dude. They're cheaper than Hot Toys a little bit, but they're right up there, and they're just vinyl. They don't pose, they don't move, none of that, you know. So they're not cheap, and dude, Hot Toys is not cheap.
Absolutely not. Especially if you're getting into the Iron Man game. Like,
I have one Iron Man. I'm done. Like, I'm not gonna get into that game because I got the diecast Mark 7. I said just get one because I saw what people do with it, and they're beautiful figures. So like, I can't do that. Like, just get one, the one that you like the best. And I was in between Mark 7 and Mark 3, so I guess the one from the first movie.
Yeah.
And I do love the prototype suit that's getting teased right now, Mark 1. And so I could have gone that way, but I ended up going Mark 7, and it was like almost $400 or $400
Yeah.
diecast reissue.
Diecast, yeah.
Not even totally diecast, by the way. It's
No,
like mostly,
but they're heavy pieces.
they're super heavy,
and
and
super
the
quality.
detail is ridiculous, dude. The head sculpt is so. No, dude, I can't think that I've ever done that because at the end of the day, I always think like if there's some pieces that I would like, but like for example, I like the like Sideshow has these 6-scale figures of the bounty hunters and like Admiral Akbar and like Bosk. I'm like, I would like those, but I'm not gonna spend $600-700 on them. I just can't do it. It doesn't make sense to me. Like it doesn't. I can't get there. I would pay $600-700 for a big ass figure, like the quarter scale Hot Toys.
Yeah.
The gigantic Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla from X Plus was like $400. Like I'm not opposed to spending that on a piece that I gotta have, and it's huge. But I don't like paying over retail unless it's just a Grail thing. And I truly, oh, okay. So this one, again, to keep pulling it out, impossible to find. Impossible to find. I would not have even have, and I collect all of his figures, Gango. I have almost every Gango figure except for this one right here was impossible to find. And because not that many were made, nobody really wants him. So if you ended up getting him, you must have really wanted him because nobody like just gets this. And it came out like at $200 or something when it came out. And a buddy of mine, Keelan, who I've met through collecting toys, found him at Mandarake on online. So Mandarake, for those who don't know, is like the big toy store in Japan. It has like all the kaiju stuff. It's like a 6-story toy store, and every floor is different stuff.
Oh wow!
It's like one story is all toys, but like kaiju stuff. One of them is like Gundam mech, model kits. One of them is like all video games. One's all books, all music. So it's like all that, but like cool geek stuff. And so people buy, sell, and trade at Mandarake, so you can find weird old stuff that's been left behind or traded in. And somebody sold this, and they were selling it, I want to say closer to 300, so 100 over. So I paid more for this, but impossible to find. And again, he's like the greatest for me. So, but I can't think of one, dude. And I've bought toys. No, I do trade sometimes. So like if something's really expensive and I don't want to pay it, but somebody like wanted something of mine, and if I can do it for them, I'll do a trade. Or if I have time on the weekend, like I'll do a little carving and I'll do a trade. I barely get a chance to do it, but stuff like that. Artwork I've paid a lot for. Original artwork. I got an original Mignola piece that's like not very big. It's like 5x7, but I bought it in 2003. I spent $500 for it on it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that's a lot. But no, I usually don't, man. I usually don't. And I wanted to have a good answer for that, but I don't. I didn't really have one. I don't have one.
No, but it's interesting because I recently, when I spoke to Cornboy about the same topic, instead of sharing a shame piece, he shared a victory piece. He had a figure. Yeah, he had a figure that he got from 3A that was something he really wanted back in the day, but then he came to find out that it was worth like 10 times what he had paid.
Crazy.
And some dude bought it from him, and he ended up funding a trip to Hawaii with his wife by selling that figure.
That's
So
amazing.
and it was funny because it was Ashley Wood designed those figures at 3A's,
I love them.
and it was autographed by him and everything. And Cornboy was just like, I just don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And he couldn't believe how much he got for it.
Right.
So yeah, I think one of those things, and it's a funny thing that I wanted to just mention. There is a lot of people out there that shame other collectors for reselling. And there's a thin line between what a scalper is
Oh,
and
right.
when you resell. Like I many a times have resold and I've always made some sort of profit because I just can't have it all. And I'm always in a process of replacing. So if this character came out looking better with better articulation, better detail, you bet I'm going to pick that one up, and I'm probably not necessarily going to keep the other one.
Me neither. I don't really have like. I have a few Bobas, I have a few Mandos, and a bunch of Gangos, the guy I just showed you, and some Godzillas. But I don't usually get multiple representations of a figure. I try to get the best one, my favorite one. And then the other thing is, dude, if I'm selling something that's older that I got, and somebody wants it, and the market value is way high, I'm gonna try and get as much as I can for it. I'm not going to. What I'm not going to do is go to Target, buy everything on the shelf, get hooked up with the guy in the back room, and make my life become creating a false, market, a false, price point for these figures, and making everybody have to be miserable when they're collecting. I'm not doing that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so there is a big difference. And if anybody shames me or wants to shame me for making money on my figures, I don't give a fuck, dude, because I don't care. I don't care. Who? I don't hang out with anybody. I'm here in my room. I make my artwork. I try to make cool stuff for people. I've kept my prices down super low as long as possible. Even when eBay, they're flipping my work for 3, 4, 5 times what it's worth. Yeah. So I know my heart's in the right place, but also you guys could have bought those Hellboy figures. Nobody wanted them. And from those figures, I sold them, and I get to buy some Hot Toys, and that's cool. I'm good.
Yeah, man. And I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned that the biggest thing right now is Hot Toys.
Yeah.
So the Mando that just recently came out, the one from the latest season that's got all the gear.
I want it.
So here's the funny part about it. Yeah. So I already have the Mando. You have it also. The deluxe one that comes with a pod.
Yes. I love it.
Beautiful piece.
Perfect.
But then this one comes along, and he's got all that other gear, a different head sculpt for Grogu.
Yeah.
And it's I'm sitting there saying, okay, why don't they just sell an accessory piece?
Okay, well, look, so I've okay, and this, I'm glad you're talking about this. This is what I want to talk about. So I heard all that. I saw forever people selling really nice Darksabers. So if you wanted a Darksaber, you could have had it by now. I've seen people selling the Beskar spear on Etsy. Beautiful. You wanted that, you could have had it. Grogu comes with every figure 500 times. I believe the deluxe one that we're talking about came with 2. So you don't need the Grogu. If you have to have and they have a Grogu pack,
Yeah.
Which that kind of hurt my butt a little bit because I want that little Loth cat, but whatever. I'm not going to get that. So for me, I'm never going to display my Mando with the Pedro Pascal head sculpt. I love the helmet too much. So that's not for me.
Right.
Right. The chrome armor, it looks badass. I don't know that's going to last that long, and I don't really care that much about it, so that's not for me. But, okay, and by the way, I have not pre-ordered it. I think I might, but I'm not, and I'll tell you why I'm even considering it. Because those are all things they're not for me, right? That's not, some people want the accessory, some people want the head sculpt. I'm not in it. I pre-ordered the speeder that they announced the same day.
Oh yeah, the speed. Does it come with him, or is it just a vehicle standalone?
Just a vehicle. And I'll tell you what's going on right now in my head. So to me, my favorite scene, I think, in the whole series is season 2, episode 1, when he's riding out with, after, getting hijacked by those goons. Oh, no, before getting hijacked by those goons. He's riding in the speeder. He's got Boba's armor back there. He's got all those packs. And then there's another scene where he's with Timothy Oliphant, the marshal, and they're riding to go talk to the Tusken Raiders. Those scenes of him just writing that music in the background, that is, to me, the most perfect piece of artwork ever created. I don't know why. It speaks to me. And so I pre-ordered the speeder bike, and these motherfuckers, instead of putting all the cool packaging and boxes that he loads up with the speeder bike,
they put it with a figure.
They put it with a figure, dude. So
that's marketing 101, man. They do it because then you're like, how many? And that's why I was saying, like, how many versions of Mando do you need to have to feel fulfilled and happy? Do you have to have the quarter scale? Do you have to have
pre-order for sure?
I know you do.
I like big figures. I like big figures. But so here's the thing. I was not going to pre-order. People were talking about, where's the Pedro head sculpt? Where's the Pedro head sculpt? I'm like, I'm happy if you guys get it. I don't care about that. I don't put my Peter Parker head sculpt on Spider-Man. I don't put my Tony Stark head sculpt on Iron Man. It's all good if you guys want it. That's not for me. The chrome, nice, but not for me. Even the accessories, if I wanted them that bad, I would have already had them. But I want that scene perfect with the speeder, bro. And so the same thing with the blurg. I love the blurg. I want all the vehicles in the Beast. That's what I want more than anything else. I already have the OG Mando, the Durasteel Mando. Yeah. So I'm just going to put him on the blurg. We're good. When the speeder bike came out, I was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to put my other Mando, the deluxe one, on the speeder bike. We're good. And then the accessory pack that we're talking about, it's just the packages. I don't even want the other Grogu. I don't want the head sculpt. I don't want the dark saber. I don't want the spear. I just want the little stupid boxes. And so now I'm like, and then, okay, so if I put the deluxe Mando that I have on the speeder, now I'm going to have no Mando in the shelf, like, because these vehicles don't fit in the detail. You got to put them like outside. Yeah. So I'm going to have no Mando in there with all the other characters.
Another one.
Dude, it pisses me off, man, because I'm like, I'm not the guy who complains about this shit, because I'll figure it out. And I'm like, make your money, Hot Toys, keep doing it. But now, like, in a perfect world, this is what I would want. And so if anybody wants to do this, this is what I want. I want to pre-order the figure. And if somebody, and just part it out. You want the head sculpt? You want the spear? You want the darksaber? And then, I just keep the figure and the packages. And so, I don't know. Nightmare.
Yeah. I hear you. It's a struggle. And that's the collector struggle, man.
That's going to be my shame piece, dude. You're asking me about a shame piece? That's going to be my stupid shame piece, because I was doing so good, dude. I was like, I didn't double up on anyone, I don't even I only have like 2 stormtroopers, and one of them's the incinerator. So it's not even the same, What else I got over there? I got the vintage Boba, the one from the Kenner figure repaint, the gray one. I'm thinking about selling that one, dude, when Book of Boba comes out, because it's already going for a decent amount in the secondary. Like, it's going up, Number one, I was hoping to trade it for the animated one, which is the one that I really want, the holiday special one.
Yeah.
It's purple and yellow and weird. That's the one that I would really prefer. Although I love the gray one. It's beautiful, but I just don't need so many Bobas. Yeah. And so if he goes up when Book of Boba comes out, I'll probably sell him to get the new Mando stupid accessory pack there. And I don't want to hear shit from anybody talking shit about me for reselling it. I'm doing it shamelessly. And if you don't want it, don't buy it. Get your own.
No fucks given.
Zero.
That's awesome, man. Hey, it's been really fun talking to you today, and it's, like I said, it's always so interesting to see people from different walks of life and how toys affects their lives and their careers,
Oh, yeah.
And the one thing that I'm super excited for people that don't know, shame on you, Mr. Peter Santa Maria here is living the dream. He's getting an actual 3-dimensional collectible.
Yes.
made of the Daruma print that
Yes.
he made, and this is being done by produced by Mighty Jackson. There it is.
Look at
Oh,
that
that shit's
thing.
awesome, dude.
I think it's crazy, dude.
I
Yeah,
love the expression on it. You know, like the one eye.
yeah.
Is it that he's blind out of one eye, or is he's got one eye closed?
Okay, so there's a story with the original character that the Daruma doll is based off on. So it's based on a guy meditating and keeping his eyes open, and so like, I recommend people go look into that Bodhidharma, and you can learn about it. Like the red here represents a blanket that he would like wrap himself in. Only his face would stick out, right? So, but in terms of the Daruma doll, right? Like when you see them, like some people see them at sushi restaurants, and when we were in Japan, my wife Gabby and I, we saw them everywhere, and they're beautiful. They come in all sizes, like some tiny ones, gigantic ones, and what people usually buy them for or keep them for is they come with both eyes blank normally, so both eyes are blank.
Okay.
And the idea is you get these, and when you are ready to set a goal for yourself or accomplish something in life that's important to you, you know, commit that to your mind. I am going to save up for a house. I am going to lose weight. I am going to get my, college degree finally. Whatever it is, right? And you take the Daruma doll and you color in one eye yourself. So that's why this one is colored in here, right?
Okay.
And when you color it in is the beginning of your journey, and you set it somewhere. And you're supposed to set it somewhere where it's going to be visible to anybody who comes in your house, like first thing. Because it now becomes like this art piece that is also a symbol of accountability for you. Because if somebody sees it and they know about Daruma, they're going to be like, oh, you got Daruma, what are you doing? And then the conversation becomes, oh, I just started a business, and when I make my first $1,000 profit, then that's my goal. Or I'm gonna lose 50 pounds, or I'm gonna get jacked, or I'm gonna whatever it is, right? And now you talk about it with someone else, and everybody knows this. When you say your goal out loud to someone, it's real now.
That's awesome.
Because if you just keep it here, you can always back out and nobody really knows that you were ever trying to accomplish anything, right? But if you say it to someone, now they know. And if you don't follow through with it, then you feel like kind of like you wussed out. You didn't follow through. So this thing sits there, right? Like as an accountability tool. When you accomplish your goal, the idea is you color in the other one.
Okay.
And you put it back on your shelf where you had it, visible as hell. Because now it's a trophy.
Exactly.
And now when people see it with two eyes, they go, oh, what'd you do? And then you can talk about with pride the challenge that you set for yourself that you completed. And for me, with this business that I started 10 years ago, Attack Peter, my goal was always to get into this world, design cool artwork, create my own character like Takaro, and create toys, do comics, eventually video games, and I want to do movie stuff, whatever I can do, right? Wherever I can get in, I want to be there and hang out and make stuff. And so the first toy that I wanted to release, I know people thought I was going to do a Takaro figure and all that. The first thing I wanted to release was a Daruma, because if I only get to achieve one, if I only get to make one, this one really represents everything I've been doing. And it's intentionally left with one eye blank. And I don't expect, although it's yours, you can do whatever you want with it. I don't expect anybody's going to go in and fill it in, because this one's meant to represent that you're forever questing. Even when you accomplish one goal, your goal is not to accomplish one goal. Your goal is to be someone who always has something they're grinding and working towards. And that's what this represents.
Always stay hungry, yeah.
That's it.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks, man. So I'm proud
of those are still available for pre-order at skybound.com, right?
Yeah, store.skybound.com. You can go. It's like right under the Invincible banner. You can check it out. And we're taking pre-orders, and they're going to be shipping this fall. And super excited about it. The box is big. This thing is big. The box is big. It's like a beautiful vinyl and PVC combination. It's like when you take it out of the package, this was crazy, and you'll appreciate this. The first time I opened the real one, this one here, because I have a prototype one that was resin, and it was cool. Mm-hmm. But when I got the real one and I opened it,
The smell, that new
dude.
toy smell.
Oh, like, dude, that was the triumph to me.
That's awesome, dude. That's really great. And I'm pretty sure, this is the first of many.
Hope
We're
so.
probably going to see a lot more creations. I'm pretty sure there's a Takuro
Look at this.
figure coming.
This is a fan art, like Lord Crabhands on Instagram. He made this as one of his first 3D sculpts
Prints? That's
and
cool.
prints. And he sent it to me, so I always use it, like, because yes, we're gonna get a Takuro figure one day, and it's gonna be a big boy. It's gonna be the first kaiju monster toy of printmaking, so it'll be a big symbol for that. It'll be fun.
That's awesome, dude. Awesome, man. So thanks again for sitting here and talking shop with me.
Oh, fun.
Always a pleasure.
If you ever want to do like, if I know you're doing these interview series, but if you ever like want to jump on and talk toy news and nerd stuff and just go over stuff, you can just call me up and I'll jump on and we'll talk.
Awesome, man. Yeah,
I know you don't
definitely.
do toy reviews anymore. I know you don't do that anymore, but if you ever just like say, let's just get a few guys together, a few people together, talk some crap about it, you can, I'm happy to do
live unboxings is kind of the other thing that I'm thinking about, messing with. I did one the other day, and I think it was, interesting. It didn't get the full live vibe because I didn't announce it. I just kind of jumped on there and did a live.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's going to be interesting because you have people interact and ask about packaging and, can you move this part of the body, and just have a little more interactivity and have people participate. I think that's something that's trending now, and people are really interested in that.
Let me know. Happy to do it. I'm so happy that you're doing this. I'm happy that you already banked some great episodes with some of the best people. I mean, you got Cornboy, you got Brian Flynn. Like, that's a great foundation to build on. That's like the toy Mount Rushmore in the making right there. So I'm excited. I'm subscribed. I love watching it. So I'm glad, dude. Keep it up.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Take care, buddy.
Later.
See ya.